here in Web3, it's like, it's really iron sharpens iron, all, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're just, when we talk about what we're building, it's a group effort that, for our own success to build careers as sustainable filmmakers. And it's a special feeling to find people that, that are more, I will mention the people that I've worked with, in this space more than my own stuff, because like, that's the level of talent that's coming together in this space. And it's not just people, I don't want to badmouth anyone, say it's not just people with cell phones. I don't mean to sound that way, but it's like, but these are people that have tried to have careers as filmmakers for many, many years. And a lot of them, whether it be because of race, gender, financial considerations, have just not gotten the opportunities, in legacy filmmaking to make a feature film or to have their voice heard. And so we've all found ourselves in Web3 with a new avenue, building a new vertical, as Jordan said many, many times, that didn't exist before. And a lot of people are resistant to it, and a lot of people don't want to play ball. And if you don't want to play ball, that's fine. If you don't think that this is digital ownership, if you don't think this is like a real thing, if you want to right-click save, like, knock yourself out. I'm not going to let pirates and nefarious actors and gatekeepers, define what this space is for us. Those days are over, So like, if you don't want to play ball and get into Web3 and what it's all about, that's totally fine. I got no problem with that. I'm still, because of legacy filmmaking, very competitive. So like, I'll happily, take less people in this space, than more. But the ones that are here, have a different mindset, a different attitude that it just continually blows my mind, because it's what I wanted in 2018 when my career leveled up. And like I said, our iron sharpens iron, and all the talent that's in this space, that we're just all working together to lift ourselves up and make, and push the work forward. I've always spoken about this. Like, it's not just meant to like have fun in crypto bucks land and like, walk around with cartoon apes and stuff. It's more than that, certainly more than that for me. It's something completely different. And to see the collection of talent, this is what I always wanted. So I feel like I belong here.
Welcome back to Cool Hand Crypto, where cinema, culture, and crypto collide. My name is Matt Silverman, and please remember my NFT project, the Sherwood Project, is on public sale June 15th. We're searching for an artist, we're making a film, and so much more. So head over to thesherwoodproject.com for more info. Today's guest is an award-winning filmmaker who is helping bridge the gap from traditional Hollywood filmmaking into Web3, my favorite kind of guest, Jason Charnick. Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's good to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Matt. We're trying.
You're building so many different things here, and I'm excited to dig into all of them. And what's funny is I feel like your projects are sort of similar to what I'm building. And in traditional LA Hollywood filmmaking production, I would consider that a threat. But with Web3, I don't. And I don't know if it's because the infrastructure is so new, but I'm beyond excited to meet other filmmakers who are doing this kind of thing, because it's so fresh, it's so new, and we're building it as we go. And it's vital that I connect with people like yourself to say, let's build this together. Even if we're on separate projects, let's build it together, as opposed to the sort of insidious competition in normal Hollywood filmmaking.
Right. I call it legacy filmmaking. Independent filmmakers have forever been fighting for a limited number of film festival spots, limited distribution opportunities. Even with the upswing of streaming and VOD over the last decade, there's been more avenues than ever before, but it's still limited because there's been more filmmakers than ever before. The cost of iPhone filmmaking even has made quality increase and cost decrease. So there's just been more content in the world over the last few years. So even though the opportunities have kind of grown a little bit, the sheer number of people making the content has grown, exponentially more than that. So it just is a competition just by the nature of the beast. And Web3 has been a very different experience for me. It has been very collaborative in that way, much like filmmaking.
We'll dig into all of it. It is funny what you're saying, because when I think of, or I hear about reading filmmakers from the 90s or earlier, you know, it was always a struggle. Like, you had to get film and you had to know how to use a camera. And in some ways, there's more opportunity than ever. You can be by yourself with your iPhone and film a movie. But yet it also does seem to be that there's more opportunity than ever, but it's harder than ever to break through the noise.
The opportunities have grown, but like the number of people creating it's grown even more than that. So like it's tough to keep up, and it's just made it's just made trying to build a sustainable career as a filmmaker almost impossible. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here in Web3, is to try to build a sustainable career for myself, but like also help build out this infrastructure as early as we are. That'll create these opportunities for other people as well, is the goal.
100%. I'm on the front lines with you, so it's exciting to talk to you. Let's
sure.
start though with legacy filmmaking. So you've been in the industry for over 25 years. I think well, you tell me where to start, but maybe with Happy Madison.
I worked for, I'm a post supervisor by day. I worked for a company called Framework Studio that's a part of the Happy Madison family. One of the wonderful things that Adam Sandler has done with Happy Madison over, the past 15, 20 years is have other companies that do other parts of the production. So my company Framework does all their main titles, and then there's another company that does the poster work and stuff, all in conjunction with the studio. But Happy Madison has all these little subsidiaries, not really the word, but like partner companies and sister companies,
satellite
that
companies
work
or
on their stuff.
yeah,
Like that. And I started working for them back in 2006. I have been around the block, I guess. I graduated from college in 97. I don't want to blast through the last 25 years of my bio, but I've been an editor and a filmmaker, independent filmmaker in this business, for the last 25 years. Like I said, but yeah, working for Happy Madison since about 2006. I left them in 2017 to finish my feature film Getting Over. That played at South by Southwest in 2018. And actually, because I had such a good relationship with Framework and the Happy Madison team, that they just brought me back, even after a 5-year hiatus of doing like independent film work. They just brought me back in January because they're, the company I was part of is growing. So they brought me back in for that, which has been exciting. So I've been working on some ESPN spots lately that have been on, which is pretty cool, and just getting back into the the studio mix a little bit, which helps balance out my NFT stuff, because I see firsthand a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. Not I can't give out any specifics obviously, but I see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff of Hollywood and studio marketing, and it's wildly different from what we're experiencing in the NFT world right now.
Oh, I'm sure. And I do want to talk about Getting Over, and I want to hear about the evolution of that project and,
sure.
and the production and everything. But even before we get there, maybe without going over the whole 25 years, what do you think, what was your general experience in, and I like the term legacy filmmaking, what was your general experience there that sort of, what is the before and after? If Web3 is the after, what was the before? What was your experience that led you to say, things can be done better, things can be done,
right.
And how do you reconcile this new Web3 revolution with, like, at least I'm not anti-Hollywood, and I love Hollywood, right. And I work in Hollywood. And
Hollywood's not going, Web3 or not, Hollywood's not going anywhere. I mean, we're not putting them out of business.
And this is sort of a competition to it in some ways, Web3, so that we have to reconcile that. So so I guess the first question is, what did you see going on in your experience that led you to Web3?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, certainly. What I've been doing, in the day job over the last 15 years has been specifically Hollywood marketing, not working on the films themselves, but with the studio marketing departments. And they are their job is to maximize the amount of money that their product, the film, makes. And that includes, and it's not just, North American marketing, it's international marketing. There's spots that we do that air and, in theaters and on TV all around the world. And their sole job is to create profit for the studio. That's not really my bag. I like profit's great. I love to be able to pay my mortgage. But it took me a very long time to come to the realization that I am an artist. I've never really, that comes into play because I never really felt like I was given permission growing up. Not that anyone said that I couldn't, but I never really had a voice that said I could, pursue a creative endeavor like being a filmmaker. And it came to me a little bit later in life. So I've seen the Hollywood money-making apparatus and how that works. And I've also seen, as a micro-budget filmmaker at heart, I've seen how the independent world works. With Getting Over, it kind of, stepped up my career as an indie filmmaker. I got into South by Southwest very luckily. They say you can't, get into one of those big festivals, without having some sort of I was a complete blind submission. I tell this story every time anyone asks me. Complete blind submission, self-funded. I mean, I had a Kickstarter and Indiegogo, small ones that only raised like $5,000-$6,000 each. And everything else was self-funded, and we scraped it together, and we won the lottery, and it kind of leveled me up, and we eventually got distribution. Which was exciting. But I've seen, as that micro budget filmmaker trying to break through, I've seen the gatekeepers, which is why like it's so crazy to me. Like we talk about the gatekeepers so often, and like somebody like left the back door open for like 5 minutes. Like they left the back gate open while the party was going on, and like somehow I snuck through the back door. I know it doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. I'm proof of it. But I have also seen better films than mine, like, not get those opportunities. I'm working on a documentary now with someone up in Portland about the Portland riots that were, or just everything that was going on a couple of years ago up there. And it's a fine documentary. It is an absolutely fine film, but it hasn't had much festival success yet because it's a hot topic. I mean, it's really what it is. But like I've seen and worked on movies that are like good movies that have not been able to crack through that big metal gate, that they're guarding for some reason. So I've kind of had a view of many different facets of the industry over the years that have all kind of, and now that I've been involved in it for a while, like I feel like it was always pushing me in this Web3 direction. And I more than ever before, I feel like as a filmmaker and someone who's finally giving themselves permission to be an artist, that this is the right place for me as I try to build a sustainable career moving forward.
Yeah.
That's the long answer.
It's great. And I feel exactly the same way. Maybe tell us a little bit about Getting Over and what that process was like, making the film and getting a budget. And because that was prior to Web3.
Yeah, premiered in 2018.
And a documentary, right?
Yes, yeah. It's a documentary about my family. It was I won't say it's certainly not an easy documentary to make, but in terms of rights and stuff, it's like my family's history. So like I didn't, like, unlike other documentarians, I didn't have to go through like life rights or any of that stuff. So that helped make it a little easier. You said, build a budget. We never had a budget. Like, my budget was a running Google spreadsheet of just like, it like became like a checkbook register. Like every time I would spend money, put it in there. Every time we would, get money from a Kickstarter, put that, in the other column. Like that was that's the official budget. I had started it back in 2012, like the film project as it, grew into, and as it, the final product. I had started in 2012 when we had our first Kickstarter. We raised $6,000, and that was enough money for me to get back to New York. The story's about my father, who was a heroin addict in New York City in the 70s and 80s, and I didn't really see him much growing up. So before he passed away in 97, my uncle, his brother, made all these videotapes, all these high-8 videotapes of him in his last days, interviewing him and just getting his whole life story. Showing my father my college diploma was on there, so I hadn't seen those tapes in like 15 years. So my uncle had given me all of these tapes like 20 years ago, And I was like, one day I'll do something with them. And they sat like in the back of the closet, you know, for years and years. And then in 2012, it just happened that like I felt the motivation to like start doing it. Working for Framework Studio, you know, part of Happy Madison, you know, they were always very, very open to letting me pursue that stuff. You know, if we were slow, I was, you know, there would be days, you know, where the offline team was editing, because I'm the post supervisor. So like the offline team is editing and working on projects and stuff, and we're not necessarily delivering anything that day. So I'd have the day to like do stuff. So like they would let me like sit and like Photoshop and like airbrush my childhood photos throughout the day. And if something happened, I'm in the office, like I'll go do my job. It's not like I'm like, no, I'm doing something right now. But like in those downtimes, they let me work on it. So over the course of the next 6-7 years, from 2012 with that first Kickstarter to getting the picture started to finishing in 2017, and that's when I left the job amicably, and they were like, good luck with the movie, and we got into South by. So I had been working on that for like, you know, 7 years on and off.
That's incredible. I wasn't aware of what the story was. Was that difficult to work on? I think I joined Hollywood, so to speak, to get away from real life. And that's the opposite. That is a very deep dive into, but often those are the best stories and the most attractive ones to audiences. So what was that difficult for you to edit and work on?
I knew I was too close to it. So I had to bring on not another editor, because I didn't edit it at all. I brought on, and I put an ad out in you know, on Mandy.com and some other local places out here in LA.
Yep.
I think I put an ad on Craigslist. And one of the people who applied for the position, her name was Sharon Rudder. She was the editor of Rules of Attraction by Roger Avary.
Oh,
who
I love
also
that movie.
co-wrote
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction. And she was the editor of it, and it's so just crazy movie, and it's crazy edited, you know, one of these 90s hot indie movies that Roger Avary made like right after Pulp Fiction. And I live in Long Beach, California. She lived in Long Beach, California. I already loved the movie. I was like, I can't believe this is amazing. And not only did we just like immediately mesh, she just was, I can't even give enough kudos to Sharon Rudder for what she did in helping to craft the movie. And I basically, you know, one of the parts of the movie is I couldn't even afford to transcribe the interviews. So I was actually, this is like 2012, and like iPhones couldn't do it then. I had to speak my father's interview and repeat his words into the microphone.
Wow.
And record that and do
Wow.
like voice recognition that way, because he also had a thick accent. So I basically did all these transcriptions of like 18 hours of stuff, and I just dropped them on her desk, and I was like, here.
That's got to be kind of a mind fuck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's one of the, you'll have to watch the movie. One of the parts of the movie is one of my oldest memories that I thought was one thing was something totally else.
Wow.
And that's like a real moment, because I was like, I need to stop this and like record something. So like, that's actually one of the parts of the movie that's like really kind of cool. So I just basically dropped this thing on her desk and was like, help, you know, see where the story is. And she took the ball and ran with it and was amazing with it, because I knew I couldn't be that close. And, you know, but to more specifically answer your question, being a post supervisor, you know, technically, I'm used to watching things for technical reasons, making sure everything like looks good and QCing things, that like it was easy at some point to like distance myself from it.
Sure.
You know, the content of it, because I'm like watching things, you know, especially like as we got closer and closer to picture lock, I'm like watching things for like film reasons, for like notes reasons. And then I'm watching things for like technical reasons. What do we have to color in certain ways? What do we have to fix? What do we need to like record VO-wise? And like the sound mixer is going to do some sound design for us too. You know, like I had to like look at all that technical stuff, that it was easy to like not even worry about like the guy that's on the screen going through all this shit was me.
Right.
You know?
What was the trajectory of the film after it had gotten into South by?
That's also a really good question, because that's one of the reasons that's kind of pushed me into Web3. So after the film premiered in Austin at South by Southwest 2018, that was now the last year. because they canceled the program. But Amazon Prime Video used to have the Film Festival Stars program. And it was basically a program, you know, when they were trying to really grow their content and try to compete with Netflix. Like I said, this is about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, more than that, because it started in like 2016. So like 6 years ago to like 4 years ago, you know, they were really trying to build up their content to compete with Netflix, which you can now see they've changed their paradigm entirely, and now it's all original content to compete with Netflix and not like acquiring things. But while they had this Film Festival Stars program, it basically said that if you were in competition at any of the big festivals, and this was Toronto, so TIFF, Sundance, South by Southwest, and I think maybe Telluride or one other one. If you were in competition, we will standing offer of $100K on the table. And you just have to give a 2-year exclusive for video on demand to Amazon Prime, which is to say like no Hulu and no Netflix. And you give us 2 years. And you don't have to pay that money back, but we want you to use it for marketing and stuff and pimp people out on Amazon Prime Video.
I have a friend who works in distribution, and at that time, I believe they were just making blanket offers for like 90 grand or 80 grand to all of those films, knowing that they would get that deal.
Exactly. And to some people, it's a lot of money. To others, you know, like that were, you know, bigger budget productions that were expecting bigger deals. You know, it could seem like a low ball or a slap in the face. And that was just for movies in competition. I wasn't in competition. I was in the documentary spotlight, which was like the next category. Right. So our standing offer was only $25K. But I'm a micro budget filmmaker. We all in on getting over was like 50, 60K total.
Yeah,
like I said, I didn't have to spend money on rights or anything. I didn't have to, you know, my biggest expense was Sharon as editor. I didn't pay myself as director. I did all the finishing myself. You know, I had to pay a colorist, and I had to pay my composer, but he was a close friend of mine that I used to work with at Apple. So like he did me a favor, you know, so I called in all the favors for the passion project, you know. And so we didn't spend a lot. So like 25K was like a huge deal. If you make your independent movie for like $2-3 million, that's a lowball slap in the face, but it's at least a standing offer, you know. And also, like I said, it wasn't exclusive. It was only the video on demand exclusive. But if you got theatrical distribution through someone else, like all those other options were still available to those films. So with that in our back pocket, that standing offer, Gravitas Ventures, who's an independent film distributor, came to us and offered a little more than the 25K that Amazon was. And basically said that they would be taking, if they got distribution, if we gave them the rights, that they would take advantage of the Amazon deal. So I was like, either way, it's going to be on Amazon for 2 years, and they're promising us some more money. Sounds great. So we took the deal. It was a very bad experience with Gravitas Ventures. I feel like negotiated in bad faith a little bit. For a podcast, I probably can't go into any more detail than that.
Well, yeah, whatever you'd like to go into.
I have named names before, but that's like on stuff that doesn't get recorded.
Well, maybe I think this is important to hear though. So you don't have to name names, but what should filmmakers look out for when they're making distribution deals? Sure.
Well, when somebody says to you, "Isn't it cool that some grandma in Utah will be able to watch your movie?" You can at least realize grandmas in Utah have YouTube. Even if worst comes to worst, and you just put it on YouTube for free and don't even tell anyone about it, some grandma in Utah can still find it and watch it.
Yeah.
So I've had things told to me like do you? And again, like this is me coming like it was my first feature. You know, to someone that might not know me, it might seem like I didn't know what I was doing, but like I've been living the Hollywood studio marketing life for like the last 10 years. So I'm like, dude, I mean, I know what you're trying to do. And listen, it's a different thing to know how the business works and then to be in the middle of it and have it happening to you, where you have to make decisions and have conversations in the moment as things are actually developing. That's a different thing than like knowing how Hollywood works, you know, so it's different. But I'm like, guy, like you're not, no. And then, like I said, like they changed the terms. All I can say, I guess, is that they changed the terms of the agreement when they found out that I hired a lawyer. And I was like, this is a contract, man. I'm not a lawyer. I watch Law and Order. Don't make me a lawyer. You know, like I'm not going to just sign the deal after you tell me some grandma in Iowa is going to be able to see it, Utah or whatever. I was like, I'm going to hire an attorney to help me. And they didn't like that. So they changed the terms of the agreement. And I really had no choice. I mean, I could have walked and just taken the Amazon thing myself. But like Gravitas they didn't give it a theatrical release, but it was on iTunes. You know, it's on iTunes. It's on, Canopy, which is an educational platform. It's on a whole bunch of other, and you can buy a DVD of it and a Blu-ray of it on Amazon. So like other things that like I would have had to work for and get deals. And we still have international distribution, which has helped me. It's one of the reasons why I've put the movie up as a feature film, as an NFT. So you can go and like, I have the right to be able to do that with my, with my deal. So not that it's blowing the sales out of the water or anything, but it's one of the things that I've done to help continue, to monetize the movie, through other avenues. And this one just happens to be NFT.
Is that because there were no NFTs when you made this deal, and that's sort of a loophole?
Yeah, there weren't. Yeah, it's just a North America deal for what it is. But it was certainly before NFT time, and I think the contract itself, it had like a stipulation that said I could sell DVDs and Blu-rays if I buy them from Gravitas at wholesale. I can sell them on my own website or whatever. So like, as long as I like get it from them. But it was before NFTs, so like, there's nothing in there saying that I can't. Right. And if Gravitas, I can say this, and I've said it before, like if they want to come after me, I've sold 12 copies of them for like 0.05 ETH. You want to come after me, knock yourself out. You're going to spend more money filing anything than what you're going to get from me. So go crazy. So I just tell people, when I tell people it's available as an NFT, I'm like, you just have to be in international waters when you buy it. And it's already, in crypto land. So like, I already consider it not, the United States. You're in crypto land.
In crypto
so
land,
like,
the most confusing land of all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Can
so
you tell us when you say it's available as an NFT? Unpack that for me, because that is one of the things I'm keeping a close eye on as far as the distribution. What is the Web3 YouTube? What is the Web3 distribution platforms? They're coming. I'm interviewing someone next week about one, but they don't seem, it seems very new, and it seems like to watch films in Web3 or to download, you could certainly buy on OpenSea, and then maybe download the file. Is that essentially what it is, or something more?
Essentially, that's what I've done. And there are a few, and I've talked to Beam before. We love the people at Beam. I'm a very proud member of this little group of people that we've kind of formed over the last year called the NFT Filmmaker Squad. That was started by the magnificent Jordan Bain, who you should certainly speak to. Jordan Bain and 5 other women started, 5 other fantastic ladies started this NFT Filmmaker Squad last year. And I came into it when Brian Taylor, director of Crank, with Jason Statham, he made a short movie with Christopher Maloney from Law and Order, SVU, and Organized Crime. And they made a short 20-minute movie that they put on OpenSea last year as like a proof of concept, trying to mess around. I think Organized Crime had to shut down in New York because there was a COVID outbreak. So the schedules all aligned, and Chris Maloney was like, yeah, I have a week where we can do something. So they banged out this 20-minute movie. You can see the trailer. You can't see the movie itself on OpenSea because it's too long, and OpenSea has file size limits. But there's a little trailer that plays. And Jordan Bain, with the NFT Filmmaker Squad, had a clubhouse, and it's now on Twitter Spaces, with Brian Taylor and Chris Maloney. And I was just enthralled by the whole thing. And it was super. We talk about how we're super early now. A full calendar year ago, we were very super early. Yeah. So one of the things that I've wanted to do over the last year, as I've, learned about the landscape and gotten into crypto and stuff like that, is just experiment. And I have Getting Over to use as an experiment. And I'm sure somebody has done it. Other people have sold rights to feature films. Other people have done other experiments with feature films. We make jokes about people who are claiming to be the first. So I am by no means the first to do that, I think. But one of the things that I did was take the full feature film and I uploaded it to IPFS, which is decentralized file storage. It's where a lot of, smaller works of art are stored on for NFTs. There are other platforms as well, but IPFS seems to be one of the biggest ones. OpenSea uses it. Rarible uses it. So I uploaded the whole film to IPFS through a service called Pinata, and they're at pinata.cloud. And I had actually heard of them a year ago too, and for some reason, like, I had gotten away from it and then came back to it months later. And when I came back, people still hadn't been using it this way. And I was like, even if I am not one of the first, like, I could have done it like 8 months earlier. But it's like a 5 gigabyte file. It's stored decentrally. I made a custom smart contract on Manifold Studio, which is also totally free to use. You just have to pay the gas when you do your mints and stuff and create the contract. And otherwise, it's still very affordable. And they have a method to point your NFT to, because you can create contracts and then mint NFTs through Manifold Studio. And they have a method where you can embed a URL from IPFS. It's a little more technically complicated than that, but you can access the file basically from a URL through Pinata's IPFS gateway. And Rarible, unlike OpenSea, will just access that file. So I minted the whole film, the whole feature film. It's available. I made 1,000 editions just because it's a test. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to sell 1 million, and it can't be a one of one either because it's out and it's available on Amazon, and so I don't feel comfortable trying to like one of one it. So I just made 1,000 editions of it, 0.01 ETH. It's like a movie ticket, it's like $30 or whatever. Less than that after the last couple of days. Just as an experiment, and you can go to the Rarible listing and watch the whole movie. Or you can just because it's just a URL, I tell people if you can't stream it, save the file. If you buy it, you own it. Save the file and you can watch it on your computer whenever you want. So I am one of the few, at least, that I know of, if not the first, certainly not the first, but one of the few that I know of that has minted an entire feature film for viewing, no intellectual property or anything like that, as a single NFT.
What is the streaming experience on Rarible?
I've not had a problem with it. One of the bonuses is because I use one of Pinata's lower levels of service. I have to use their public gateway. So basically, imagine like all the files are on IPFS decentralized, and you want to go find any one of them. You have to use the URL through a gateway. And Pinata has their own public gateway, but when it's crowded, you don't get the same bandwidth because it's got to spread it out, amongst everyone going in that gate. And Rarible has their own gateway with Pinata. Like, they pay Pinata for their stuff too, which is crazy because it's in the URL. So like when I upload the file through Manifold, the URL is gateway.pinata.cloud/crazy numbers. But on Rarible, it comes up as rarible.pinata.cloud. So I think I have a little extra bandwidth because I'm going through Rarible's own gateway. Whenever I try to play the file on the website, it plays fine. But one of the people that has bought it said they had problems playing it all the way through and like trying. So like I haven't watched the movie start to finish on IPFS. Like I'll just like load up the NFT webpage and like the listing page on Rarible, hit play, and just like it starts quickly enough, plays for a few seconds. Everything seems to be fine, but I haven't tried to watch it all the way through. So I have been told it's a problem. Some people have had problems, but that's why I say like, you own it, download it. Like I don't even feel bad if you right click save if you've paid for it, so, and I know that's not like a perfect, solution for that because people don't want to have to download, and that's the whole point. But those are just the experiments that I'm doing, whether it works or not, whether it gets big or not. Like I wanted to, like, I saw a problem. It's one of the great things about Web3. It was one of the first things I ever heard. If you see a gap, if you see a problem, if you see something that needs to be fixed, the whole place is open source. You see something that needs to be fixed, fix it. So like we had been talking in the NFT Filmmaker Squad for the longest time about file size limits and all the limitations we have to work through. And I was like, well, let me see what I can figure out. And I don't know if it'll be a thing, but I have this content that I can use to experiment with. So, and not feel bad if I sell it or not, because it's already out. If people want to buy it, great. I would love that. But at least gives me something to mess around with. So I saw a gap there, and I wanted to like pursue that. And I don't think, listing a whole feature film like I did in a single NFT listing is like the future of Web3 streaming. It probably will be something like the YouTube of Web3. It probably will be something like Beam, or LivePeer, I think is one of them. There are other, Blockbuster DAO definitely wants they want, and that boy, like we love Blockbuster DAO in this household. Same thing with Beam, like there are options out there that are working, and not just like Netflix was, where it's like, this is how it is. Like we're working with these people, like Beam, like their creators, the coders, the developers are part of the squad. Like we're all doing this together, which is totally different from Hollywood developing a technology and saying this is what it is, So it's been really exciting from that aspect as well, to just experiment and see what hits and what doesn't. And when, the next time, as we work on other projects that are more Web3 native projects, I can steer through navigate through the space a little bit better that way, just by messing around with all this stuff that I already have.
As you've been navigating the space so far, can you talk a little bit about how these other Web3 platforms are better for filmmakers, because they're probably connecting filmmakers directly to their audiences?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things we love about Beam so much is like you can screen your film. I know Miguel Faust has done this before. Luis Venegas, filmfreako.eth, who's a friend of ours from the squad. He's shown his movie Elena there. Cameron Van Hoy and Flinch, and their fantastic
I love
project.
Flinch. He was on the show.
Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, love Cameron, love those guys. Great voice in this space. I've spoken to Cameron a few times. I can't wait to be more involved with Flinch. They've had some screenings on Beam, and I know there's some other plans for more screenings. I want to screen Getting Over on there. I actually just emailed them earlier today to say I'm leaving work at the end of June, and I want to do more work with you guys. So they've been more, it's this collaborative group effort that we've built that I'll put it this way, and I've told this story before too. When I left South by Southwest in 2018, I met all these wonderful filmmakers, and my career leveled up. I wanted to I said, I hope all these filmmakers can get together and become like the Avengers and make a super movie, and I've made some wonderful friends. I mean, some fantastic people, Liz Manischel, Elena Weinberg, Duncan Coe, all the Seed and Spark people that I've met, Drought, all the amazing folks that I've met are fantastic. But when they're still trying to do legacy filmmaking, still competing for those same spots, we're all friendly and I love everyone's work, but we're still competing for those same limited spots. But here in Web3, it's it's really iron sharpens iron. All, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're just, when we talk about what we're building, it's a group effort that, for our own success to build careers as sustainable filmmakers. And it's a special feeling to find people that, that are more, I will mention the people that I've worked with, in this space more than my own stuff, because that's the level of talent that's coming together in this space. And it's not just people, I don't want to badmouth anyone, say it's not just people with cell phones. I don't mean to sound that way, but it's but these are people that have tried to have careers as filmmakers for many, many years. And a lot of them, whether it be because of race, gender, financial considerations, have just not gotten the opportunities, in legacy filmmaking to make a feature film or to have their voice heard. And so we've all found ourselves in Web3 with a new avenue, building a new vertical, as Jordan said many, many times, that didn't exist before. And a lot of people are resistant to it, and a lot of people don't want to play ball. And if you don't want to play ball, that's fine. If you don't think that this is digital ownership, if you don't think this is a real thing, if you want to right-click save, knock yourself out. I'm not going to let pirates and nefarious actors and gatekeepers, define what this space is for us. Those days are over. So if you don't want to play ball and get into Web3 and what it's all about, that's totally fine. I got no problem with that. I'm still, because of legacy filmmaking, very competitive. So like I'll happily, take less people in this space, than more. But the ones that are here, have a different mindset, a different attitude that it just continually blows my mind, because it's what I wanted in 2018 when my career leveled up. And like I said, our iron sharpens iron, and all the talent that's in this space, that we're just all working together to lift ourselves up and make, and push the work forward. I've always spoken about this. Like, it's not just meant to like have fun in crypto bucks land and like, walk around with cartoon apes and stuff. It's more than that, certainly more than that for me. It's something completely different, and to see the collection of talent, this is what I always wanted, so I feel like I belong here. I don't know. That's also the long answer.
That long answer was a call to arms, and like the speech from Independence Day. That was amazing.
You never take. Well, that's another movie.
Podcast over. We're done.
Yeah. And it's just, it just comes down to, like the time for keeping gates is over. We're going to do it ourselves now. And like I said, I'm a micro budget guy, and so I'm trying my own thing. And that's the best part of all of this too, is like Flinch is a different project from Calladita, is a different project from Keepers of the Inn, is a different project from Late Night Dreads, which is my show, which is a different project than The Absence is Always Present, which is my NFT feature film. And that's different from Jordan Bain's Red Flags, like, so, and Crystal Schrader's Lucid. Like, they're all such different things, and it's a choose your own adventure book where you can push your own work forward, augment the work itself with a completely original project concept that augments the work itself, and to have the ability to do that. It's just like, come on in. The water's fine. Like, this is fun. And
can I just hire you to be my spokesperson?
Can I hire you to be like, I need some marketing help. Like, I talk a good game, but boy, like I wish more people knew about this stuff. But that's the best thing about Web3 too, is I'm steering into the scarcity. That's one of the things that's different about my projects. Like, I don't need, as a filmmaker, I don't need, like, yes, in theory, yes, we always want to have as many people as possible see our work, but here in Web3, like there's something totally different and new that never existed before. So I'm steering into the scarcity and trying to create work that I want people to want to see, but not everybody can get a hold of it, And that's a different thing that, like, it's kind of antithetical to what we always thought about as filmmakers. Like, we want as many people to see our stuff as possible. But now it doesn't have to be that way, and I'm gonna try to do many different things at the same time. But like, I'm gonna steer into that as one of the benefits of Web3 is scarcity.
Staring into the scarcity.com. I think you got to get it right now.
Sign up, yeah, or .io. or
.io,
.eth. I love
XYZ.
the Web3 domains. Yeah, I love a .show, a .world. These are like. 10 years ago, I looked at those and I was like, what do you even need these for? But now, like, I love .show. Like, if I'm doing a show, it's .show, baby, all the way.
I'm cognizant of your time, but I want to get into
Upstart
Film Collective
and
Nifty
extra...
Film. Obviously, you're involved in all these other Web3 projects, but you're building your own as well. So can you talk a little bit about what you're building and how that's helping filmmakers starting with you?
Sure. So, not to sound like I'm shilling too much, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my own stuff a little bit too. One of the things that didn't really exist when I got involved in this was, big PFP projects. The Bored Apes wasn't really a thing when I first started. Like, it came out like the first month that like I got involved in this. And so like, it wasn't anything when it first started, at least on my radar. And it's turned into a whole thing. And a lot of projects have been born from that. It doesn't really speak to me and what I want to do. So like I said, I have Late Night Dreads, which is it's an 8-episode anthology series that me and my friend are shooting that are meant to be, it's like we're patterning it after a baseball card set, a limited edition baseball, because I'm a baseball card collector. So like there's going to be a base episode of 8 different shows, and then there'll be limited versions of the shows that will come with commercial licensing rights, the opportunity to be on the show or be involved in the show or write for the show. Like there are one-of-ones that will we hope to and are in conversations with some of my team has some personal friends that are not super A-list actors, but you know who they are, who are busy and are interested in getting into this, but still they have to be very particular about the work that they take. So they want to see if it's successful or not. But if you buy a 1 of 1 of a particular episode, we'll airdrop you the celebrity cameo version of it. That's just for you, that no one else, will have. So other little benefits like that, to try to, make the limited editions more enticing, with more involvement and more behind the scenes access and stuff. So that's one of the projects that I'm working on. I'm also in the early stages of working on my feature called The Absence is Always Present. It's not the most exciting, much like my documentary being about drug addiction. Absence is about infant loss and grief and stuff like that. Very indie stuff that no independent distributor these days would, not that they wouldn't get behind it, but it's certainly a long road to hoe. It's not like a fun Kevin Smith comedy. It's a hard movie to sell. And that's a longer process for me because I'm still working on the script. So I'm dropping my own video experiments and my own photography and work along the way. And as I go along with the script, I'll be offering more artwork and stuff around, the topic of grief and loss to have something to do with the movie. Like I said, it's like a choose your own adventure about picking a concept. So that's the current concept of the film itself, is to hopefully sell works to raise money to do the feature. But unlike a Kickstarter, there's no time limit for me. It's one of the great things. I have this at a 2 or 3 year plan to bring this to fruition. While I work on the film and bring people into the project. So that's a longer term project. Other things are in development. So stuff that's very different from all the other things that have been, offered out there by other people. Like I said, what I'm doing is different from Flinch, is different from, what you guys are doing as well too, I'm sure.
Is that all
that's
through
what I'm trying to do.
Upstart Film Collective?
Upstart Film Collective is, and I guess it is confusing because originally Nifty Film was going to be a different thing, and then it kind of developed into what it is now, as like a production company thing. But Upstart Film Collective has been my production company for the last 25 years. We've done a whole, my feature was done under that banner. We've done shorts before. We're a Stephen King dollar baby. We made a Stephen King short film for Night Surf back in 2001. So that's been an entity as a production company for about 25 years now. But then I started Nifty Film as I originally wanted Nifty Film to kind of be like the DAO structure that a lot of people are talking about now, where it would be more of a collective of independent filmmakers where, like Kickstarter, instead of giving to one particular project, you could buy a token or buy a horror token or a comedy token and have your funds go out to multiple filmmakers.
I love that.
For fundraising and things like that. But I don't have a developer or anything. And then as I was getting more involved in the space, my experiments just kind of took me down a different road. So Nifty Film started off as a different thing. So now I just kind of use it as an all-encompassing umbrella for all the NFT projects we do.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a 2-man team, but Nifty Film is a wholly owned subsidiary of Upstart Film Collective.
I'd like to touch on the podcast you're doing, because that has to do with filmmaking and mental health, and I think that's important to talk about. Yeah,
I also host a podcast called Head Above Water, a filmmaking and mental health podcast, because, as I was meeting more filmmakers coming out of South by and getting more involved in, not just NFTs, but just the independent scene, coming out of a full-time job in Hollywood marketing for 10 years, I'm an independent filmmaker at heart. So I just got really, involved in the scene. And I just found that very few people, we all kind of, again, it's part of the gatekeeper thing, I guess, but we all talk about how hard it is to make a movie, and it's goddamn near impossible. So whenever I meet someone that's I finished my movie, can you help me with festival, can you consult on festivals or help me with post or whatever, I'm always it's amazing that you even finished a film. Congratulations. You deserve all the kudos in the world, right, short, feature, or otherwise. All the kudos to anyone that's ever finished a film. So I wanted to talk to people about their experiences making a film, because it is very nerve-wracking. And I use the term mental health. It's more of a wellness thing. I don't really take I have a psychology degree. I don't have a film degree, but like I'm not a psychologist. It's not a clinical approach to the show or anything. So I don't want to I want to describe it accurately. It's more of a wellness thing, and to talk to people about how they keep their sanity while trying to make an independent film and juggle all those balls in the air, while trying to take care of yourself inside and out. Especially a feature can be very, very, very nerve-wracking.
So what's the answer?
What the answer is try not to have the stakes be so high. Yeah. Is what I found that it is. That's the common thread that runs throughout the people that I've met. And here I am making a documentary about my father and his drug addiction, and a narrative film about infant loss. Yeah. That like try not to raise the stakes for that. Yeah. That's my weight that I carry. But I spoke to one of my friends. His name is Charlie Tyrrell. He's a filmmaker in Canada who's done just some amazing shorts over the years. And I spoke to him once because he made a short film called My Dead Dad's Porno Tapes that I think was on the short list for Academy Award for documentary short subject, if it wasn't nominated. Charlie, I'm sorry if I've forgotten. But it's a fine film narrated by David Wayne, and it's about him learning about his father after his father passed away. So I reached out to him and got in touch, and we've spoken a few times over the years. And I was like, how did you deal, and I haven't even had them on the show yet, and I need to. I was like, how did you deal with like making such a heavy topic of a film? And he was like, you have to try not to have the stakes be so high, man. And not everything has to feel like it's the most important thing that has to be, right. That thing. And for directors, they often have a singular vision of their films, and it becomes, especially as you're in production, it becomes a very obsessive thing to make things exactly the way you want. And when you have that singular vision, which is what makes many what makes, some of the greats, it also that's where the anxiety comes in. The dissonance between reality and what I'm imagining I want this thing to be. And that's where the dissonance comes in. And to try to minimize that stress. That's why I try to make my movies like, I try to call it like the 405. Like there's 5 or 6 different lanes that I can take, but they'll all get me to the same place. So I try to use that mentality to try to like not have the stakes always be so high. Different strokes for different folks, different things for different people. But that's been the common thread that I've seen throughout the people that I've spoken with, is to, the key to reducing anxiety and stress when you're making a movie is to just try to like, at least as much as you can, try to lower the stakes a little bit in your own mind and not have everything be so damn important.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's great advice.
That's difficult. That's difficult. It's not easy to do. So
thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Sure.
I have a feeling this conversation will continue. Of everything we've talked
Absolutely.
about, there's where do you want to point people?
Yeah, like Nifty Film is the thing right now. It's all Nifty Film all the time. I mean, for the podcast, you can go to headabovewaterpodcast.com and listen to all the episodes right there. It's available on Pandora, Spotify, Amazon, all Apple Podcasts, all your podcast platforms. It's available. Or you can go to headabovewaterpodcast.com, listen to them there, download them as well. Check out all our past shows with our guests. I've spoken to some amazing filmmakers like Ben Berman from the amazing Jonathan documentary, and Numa Perrier from Jezebel, and she's done a couple of episodes of The Wonder Years, and she has a Netflix movie coming up. So I've spoken to some great people over the years. Upstartfilmcollective.com's the primary, but right now, niftyfilm.io. I have some tutorials up there if you're just getting started in crypto and NFTs, on how to make a MetaMask, how to get started with Manifold, the whole process of what I did with getting over as an NFT from a smart contract with Manifold to minting through them and uploading through Pinata. I have tutorials for all that, as well as a marketplace for all the stuff that I've been putting together that are on, both Tezos and the Ethereum blockchain. Like it's a unified marketplace right there. Niftyfilm.io. Check me out on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter at @TheRealCharnick or at @NiftyFilm_IO. If you have any questions, anybody's always welcome. The DMs are always open. I love helping people. I love talking about NFTs. I love talking about things that get me excited like that. I get very excited about independent filmmaking as well. So I'm always down to talk to anybody if anyone has any questions. I have a Saturday Twitter Spaces at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll have to have you on that to talk about your project sometime.
Likewise. Oh yeah, we're doing Twitter Spaces all day. So let's
Twitter
do them.
Spaces is the whole thing. So yeah, you can come on to one of my Saturday matinee with the real Charnick, and we'll talk about that on behalf of the NFT Filmmaker Squad. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter, guys, if you have questions. And I'm not going anywhere. That's the thing about the NFT space in Web3 is, when we do say we're all going to make it, like I'm not going to, like, we're not all going to make it. I think a lot of these people that I've met right now will all make it. Some of the people that might be coming in and trickling in as like time goes on might be different, but like I'm here for the long haul. Cause I've been involved in the web, since 1997, and I still host my college project from 1997 on the Upstart Film Collective webpage on upstartfilmcollective.com. If you want to see my old college project webpage, like I'm here for the long haul. I missed out on, I used to work for Apple. I missed out on getting in on all that delicious Apple money because I was a broke ass filmmaker that couldn't afford my stock options when I worked at the Glendale store when it first opened. So like, I didn't want to miss that opportunity again. So we say we're early, but like, I knew I had to jump in on this. I love being here. I love meeting other filmmakers. There is strength in numbers. We're growing every day. The squad's getting bigger. The space is getting bigger, but the people that are involved in it now, we don't all know what we're doing because we are experimenting. But the one thing we do share is a love of film, a love of filmmaking, and a love of helping other people out. And that's usually antithetical to the world of Hollywood, helping other people out and kind of altruism. Like, it exists. It's just more, we've just found ourselves, in Web3. So come on in. The water's fine. Reach out.